At public events and press conferences, Brandon Johnson speaks directly to his base. There's no filter. He does not modify messaging for reporters or those who don't side with his political philosophy. This teacher turned activist turned politician is unapologetic about his agenda, the working class and people of color.
But a brother's working every day. Real eyes.
His black card,
right? Real eyes.
Will never be revoked.
And real lies. That's also Tupac Shakur. I'm really big on Uno. In your first 12 weeks, you know, it's like Dennis Rodman, it's Andre Dawson, Beyonce is saying hello to me. It did make me blush a little bit.
Do you ever worry about that getting lost in translation?
You know, look, the people of Chicago, I mean, look, we're Chicago. I mean, we're the soul of the world.
Last week, the mayor invited us to Build Chicago on the west side, where he greeted young admirers.
So you all live in Austin? All y'all do live in the neighborhood?
Brandon Johnson, middle child, son of a preacher, resident of the West Side, was elected 57th mayor of Chicago, promising bold progressivism.
I want to ask you, can we dance for you?
You got something?
Yeah.
You got a whole crew?
Yeah.
Hey, let's get it. Let's get it.
6 months on the job, items off his wish list have either been introduced or won final approval at City Council. But intractable problems like the busing of migrants to Chicago from the southern border and crime have dominated headlines since his swearing in.
How long will it take before Chicagoans see meaningful and sustained reductions in violent crime?
Yeah, as you know, again, as I've said repeatedly, I don't know if there's ever been a mayor that understands, you know, the trauma that violence causes in communities than someone like me who is living in one of those communities. Today, of course, we're centered here in Austin, the neighborhood that I'm raising my family in. And I can tell you the touch points have literally reached just outside my front door. And so I think about it every day. It's a very serious problem that we have.
The mayor points to a consistent year-to-year reduction in homicides and shootings. Chicago police report homicides are down 10%, shootings down 13%.
As long as we have homicides and shootings in the city of Chicago, that's 1, 20, 50 too many. But what we've already demonstrated and what we know is that homicides continue to drop, shootings continue to drop.
But robbery crews are terrorizing communities at all hours of the day. CPD says robberies are up 25%.
What is your administration doing differently than Mayor Lightfoot to reduce violence?
Well, one of the things that I can, point out, first of all, is that for the first time in the history of the city of Chicago, we have a deputy mayor dedicated to community safety.
Hello! On his first week on the job, Mayor Johnson appointed Garion Gatewood, Deputy Mayor for Community Safety, tasking him with addressing the root causes of crime. Whether one person coordinating the entire city effort can make a difference remains to be seen.
It's not just one entity. You cannot continue to rely upon policing alone to address violence. Council will come to order. Madam Clerk, please take a quorum roll call.
Although the Johnson era kicks off with city council in disarray, protesters shouting down alders, "Shame on you! Shame on you!" Fights over rules and procedures.
You are intentionally disenfranchising 3 black aldermen.
And Johnson's floor leaders stepping down amid allegations of bullying and harassment.
I cannot take away the mistakes I made last week.
The mayor can point to a string of early victories. He reached a contract extension with bigger raises and bonuses for rank-and-file police officers. He struck a new deal with NASCAR to reduce disruptions and increase payments to the city. He passed the Fair Wage Ordinance, eliminating sub-minimum wage for tip workers, passed expanded paid time-off guarantees for all workers in the city, and sent voters a referendum aimed at raising the city's real estate transfer tax on million-dollar properties to fund services for the homeless. The mayor's budget, well short of his promise of $1 billion in new spending, includes more money for youth employment, non-police response to mental health emergencies known as treatment not trauma, and funds to open shuttered mental health clinics. The mayor makes these down payments on top campaign promises while holding the line on property taxes.
We're not going to raise property taxes, and we're going to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago.
But Chicago's business community is growing anxious.
Are you worried at all that this agenda will drive businesses out of the city?
Well, again, we have the fastest growing downtown anywhere in the country. There are a number of black and brown led business leaders that believe that it's important that working people should have the ability to take a sick day or a day off to be able to, deal with life. And everything that I'm doing is everything that I've committed to doing, and that's investing in people. And we're doing just that.
All of it seems to be overshadowed by the daily busloads of migrants. More than 20,000 new arrivals. Shelters are full, police stations packed, and an already dire situation could get even worse as temperatures plunge.
This winter, where will the newly arrived migrants be housed?
So as you know, this international crisis has arrived right in our front door. I've stood up a new shelter essentially every single week. I've renegotiated contracts that I inherited to reduce the cost. We are pushing for the state government to lean in, and we're challenging and demanding that the federal government provides resources as well.
We have to manage what we have. We have a finite budget.
Former alderman and Johnson's rival in the mayoral race, Roderick Sawyer, is one of a number of African-American leaders saying his community feels ignored.
Everyone has a soft spot, particularly when you see children in diapers walking in front of police stations. But at the same time, that there is a feeling amongst a lot of people that where was all this outcry when we were hurting, when blacks were hurting, when Latinos were hurting, when others that were disenfranchised were hurting.
A group of council members want to pass a referendum repealing Chicago's Welcoming City Ordinance. So far, the mayor's allies have blocked the measure.
You have black political leaders, black leaders in communities saying that they just don't have space for the migrants, that they don't want them. Do you worry about your political base turning on you?
Well, what I'm really concerned about is the fact that we have not just an international crisis and failed policies that have caused this turmoil, but we also have individuals who are part of the right-wing extremist ideology in this country that are looking to capitalize or take advantage of this crisis, and it's actually quite sickening. I get the frustration. I was a part of a movement that pushed back against school closings in black communities. I was a part of the movement that pushed back when mental health clinics were shut down, when public housing was dismantled and destroyed, when public employees were attacked, particularly with austere budgets, when property taxes were being raised and there was no return on those investments.
Do you think Chicago will ever reach the point when it just can't accommodate new arrivals?
We have reached, our capacity has been stretched in this city.
But we're not there yet.
Well, what I can say is this emphatically, that without intervention from the state and the federal government, the mission that I inherited, we will not be able to hold the entire burden ourselves.
Mayor Johnson says he's not waiting for that to happen. He's changing the way the city handles newly arriving busloads of asylum seekers, putting limits on time in shelters, and connecting migrants with cities outside of Chicago. In the meantime, the rookie mayor says the crisis won't break his resolve.
I know that the city of Chicago, a place that birthed the hopes and aspirations through a Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, that same spirit still lives within the city of Chicago today. The same city that welcomed black families that migrated from the South. My family being a part of that second migration, my father being the eldest in his family, and the settling of black families in Chicago that was met with resistance. That just like we got through that tumultuous time, we're gonna get through this tumultuous time as well.
Despite his early policy victories, Johnson's willingness to coalition build has disappointed some members of the coalition that elected him. They wanted him to cancel the city's controversial ShotSpotter contract, and they're not pleased he's increasing the police budget. It's the reality of governing versus campaigning. Tamon Bradley, WGN News.